Most people don't realize that the majority of their life isn't being lived by choice, it's being lived by habit. Science tells us that by the time we are 35 years old, 95% of who we are is a set of memorized behaviors, unconscious routines, automatic emotional responses, hardwired thoughts and beliefs that play out every day without us even thinking. And yet we wake up every morning and say, today's going to be different today, I'm going to change today, I'll take control of my life. But then the same exact thing happens. The alarm goes off. You reach for your phone. You scroll through texts, emails, or social media, and your brain immediately becomes entrained with the same environment, the same worries, the same emotions and the same thoughts that shaped you yesterday, and the day before that, and the day before that. You step out of bed on the same foot, go through the same motions, get the same coffee in the same mug, take the same route to work, and talk to the same people who trigger the same emotions. And before you even realize it, your mind is no longer in charge. Your program is, your life has already taken control of your day. And the truth is, your conscious mind, your dreams, your desires, the part of you that wants to grow and evolve, only makes up 5% of your mental power. The rest of you, the other 95%, is a program. You didn't consciously build a program that was shaped by your past, your childhood, your trauma, your environment, your beliefs, your fears, your repeated experiences and emotional memories. Everything you keep doing over and over eventually becomes you. That's the scariest part, because once your body has been conditioned to be the mind, once your emotions take over and begin calling the shots, it doesn't matter what your intentions are. Your life will look the same every single day, and you'll wonder why nothing's changing. We've been taught to think that change is about doing something different, but real change isn't about doing, it's about becoming. It's not just about thinking new thoughts, it's about teaching your body to feel something new. Because if your body has been addicted to the chemistry of fear, sadness, anger, resentment, or unworthiness for years or even decades, then no amount of motivation or positive thinking will break the cycle unless you learn how to override the old program your body is living in the past, and it will fight to stay there because it feels safe, familiar, and predictable. That's why most people struggle to change their lives, not because they don't want to, but because they are unknowingly addicted to who they've been for so long. You see, every time you think a thought, you fire a chemical in your brain, and every thought leads to an emotion, and that emotion produces a signal to your body, which then reinforces that thought, and over time your brain and body become like a closed loop, constantly telling each other the same story, and this loop becomes your identity. You feel sad, and your body produces chemicals of sadness. So you think sad thoughts, and the cycle continues. So when you say, I want to change, what you're really doing is telling your body, we're about to break up with the familiar chemistry it's been hooked on, and the body doesn't want that. The body is like a partner in a toxic relationship that doesn't want to let go, so it resists. It distracts you. It tempts you back into the old self. It tells you you're too tired, too busy, too overwhelmed, and it knows exactly what buttons to press because you programmed it to think and feel this way without even realizing it. The real problem is that most people never stop to question the story. They're telling themselves about who they are because it feels so real, so deeply embedded that it becomes truth. But it's not truth. It's just a repeated experience that you believed long enough that it became your identity. So the question becomes, how do you rewrite the program? How do you go beyond the automatic habits and reactions that control 95% of your life? The answer starts with awareness. You have to become so aware of the old self that you can no longer tolerate living in it, not out of guilt or shame, but out of a deep knowing that who you've been is not who you were meant to be. You have to observe the patterns in your thinking and feeling and acting like a scientist, studying an old version of yourself. You have to step outside the loop and become the watcher, the observer. And in that awareness, you create space for something new to emerge. You see, the subconscious mind is like a garden. It doesn't care what you plant. It will grow weeds just as easily as it grows flowers. Your thoughts are the seeds, and your emotions are the water and sunlight. If you've been planting seeds of doubt, fear, and limitation for years, then your life will be full of those things. But the good news is, you can replant anytime you want. You can start feeding your subconscious with new thoughts, new beliefs, new emotions, but it takes consistency and repetition, because the subconscious learns through repetition and emotion. That's how the old program was written. So that's how the new one must be installed. Every time you think a new empowering thought, every time you feel a new elevated emotion, like gratitude or joy or love, you are literally firing and wiring new circuits. In your brain, you are teaching your body what a new future feels like, and the more you do it, the more your mind and body start aligning with that future reality. The key is to stop living as a memory of your past and start living as a vision of your future. Because if you keep waking up and thinking the same thoughts, feeling the same emotions, and doing the same things, you will keep producing the same results. And that's not fate. That's not bad luck. That's just biology. The law is simple. Your personality creates your personal reality, and your personality is made up of how you think, how you feel, and how you behave. So if you want to change your life, you have to change those three things. You have to become a new version of yourself, not just in your mind, but in your body. You have to teach your body how to feel abundance before the money shows up, how to feel love before the relationship arrives, how to feel healthy before the illness is gone. This is how you become the creator of your life instead of the victim of your circumstances. And this process starts not by doing more, but by thinking and feeling differently. The first step is to become conscious of your unconscious self, to catch yourself in the act of being the old you, to interrupt the pattern and say, wait a minute, this isn't who I want to be. And in that moment, you reclaim your power not all at once, but in small, consistent steps. And over time, those steps become your new path, your new personality, and your new life. Because the truth is, the life you want is already waiting for you. It exists in the quantum field, in the realm of infinite possibility. And the only thing keeping you from it is the old program running in your subconscious mind. But once you start rewiring that, once you start stepping into a new emotional reality and acting as if your future is already here, then the universe has no choice but to meet you there. And when that happens, your life will never be the same again. There comes a moment in every person's life when they pause and ask themselves, why do I keep ending up in the same place? How can I want something so badly, yet feel like something invisible is pulling me back into the same loop? And the truth most people never see is that this invisible force is not out there. It's not fate. It's not bad timing. It's not even other people. It's a system running in the background of your life. It's a program you never gave permission to install, but you've been living by it anyway. It's your subconscious mind, and the only reason it has control over you is because it's been trained to run your life without your awareness. Think about it like this when you learn how to drive at first. You're hyper-aware of everything, the mirrors, the pedals, the gears, but eventually you can drive across town without remembering how you got there. That's your subconscious at work. Now apply that to your entire life. You've been taught how to think, how to feel, how to respond, how to view yourself and the world. And over time, those repeated instructions became your autopilot. That's why you can try to change your job, your relationship, your habits, your location, but still feel stuck in the same emotional place. It's not because you're broken. It's because 95% of your mind is operating on a script that wasn't written by your conscious desires. Your conscious mind might say, I want success, I want peace, I want love. But if the subconscious script is saying you're not good enough, you're not safe, people will hurt you, or nothing ever works out, then you will always self-sabotage without realizing it. That's why real transformation doesn't start with changing what's outside. It starts with rewriting the script that's been living inside of you for years. Because until you do, you're not really living, you're repeating. And here's what's even more important. Your subconscious doesn't speak the language of logic. It speaks the language of feeling. It doesn't respond to words. It responds to emotion. That's why you can say affirmations all day long, but if you don't feel them in your body, nothing changes. It's like trying to talk to someone who doesn't understand your language, your body. Your subconscious doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you feel. So if you say, "I am successful," but you feel insecure and anxious, your body believes the feeling and not the words. That's the secret. People miss every emotion you feel repeatedly becomes a chemical signal, and your body memorizes those signals like a musician memorizing a song. It doesn't even need to think about it. It just plays it again and again. That's why when you try to do something new, something bold, something aligned with your dreams, your body resists. It's not trying to hurt you. It's trying to protect the pattern. It's learned for years. Your body has memorized what it's like to feel small, to feel tired, to feel not enough. And so when you try to rise above that, the body sounds the alarm. It says, "This is unfamiliar, this is dangerous." Let's go back to what we know, and what it knows is stress. What it knows is limitation. What it knows is fear. The greatest battle is not with the world, it's with the chemistry of your own body. And that's why change feels so hard. It's not just mental, it's physical. Your body has literally been wired to be your old self. So when you choose a new thought, when you visualize a new future, when you dare to feel a new emotion, you are firing new connections in your brain, and your body doesn't like it. At first, it says, "Whoa, what are you doing? This isn't us." But if you stay with it, if you keep practicing, if you keep sitting in stillness and breathing through the discomfort, you begin to teach the body a new way of being. This is where meditation becomes your greatest tool, because meditation is not about sitting in silence. It's about becoming aware. It's about noticing the storm inside you and choosing not to become it. It's about pulling your attention away from the outside world and bringing it inward so you can enter the operating system of your subconscious and reprogram it intentionally. Because in your daily life, your attention is fragmented. It's pulled by notifications, schedules, people stress. But in meditation, you take all that scattered attention and bring it back home. And in that stillness, you start to see the patterns. You start to hear the voices that aren't even yours. The ones that say you're not worthy, or it's too late, or who do you think you are? And in that moment, you can interrupt the program. You can replace it with a new vision, a new emotion, a new belief. And if you do this consistently, you begin to feel like your future is already happening. Now you begin to memorize new emotions before the external world gives you a reason to feel them. And that's the key. You have to feel it before you see it. Most people wait for their life to change to feel differently, but the truth is, you have to feel differently for your life to change. Your emotions are the signal your body sends to the quantum field to attract experiences that match your state of being. And if you are always waiting for something outside of you to change how you feel, you will always be a victim of your environment. But if you learn to generate elevated emotions from within, you become the creator of your environment. So ask yourself, what would it feel like to already be healed, already be loved, already be successful? If you can answer that, and if you can feel it deeply and repeatedly, your body starts believing that it's already true, and the subconscious begins to shift because it's being fed a new program, one that aligns with your vision instead of your history. That's when the magic happens. When your mind and body are no longer living in the past, but are fully aligned with the future you desire. And at first, it's going to feel fake. Your brain will say this isn't real. Your body will say this isn't us. But keep going. Repetition is how you built the old self. And repetition is how you build the new self. You have to show up every day, not as a reaction to your past, but as a rehearsal of your future. And eventually your brain starts believing your new story. Your body starts feeling your new emotions, and your life begins to mirror your new energy. This is not wishful thinking, this is neuroscience, this is biology. This is how you reprogram the 95% of your mind that's been silently creating your reality since you were a child. This is how you reclaim your power. You stop being the echo of old pain and become the voice of a new destiny. You stop identifying with your past and start embodying your potential. Because here's the thing, you don't get what you want, you get what you are. And if who you are is still based on who you were, then you will only repeat and relive the same stories. But the moment you start becoming who you want to be, before the world shows you proof, you begin collapsing time between who you are and who you're becoming. And when that gap closes, your external life starts catching up with your internal state. That's how real change begins, not outside, but inside you. Not in the future, but in the present moment. Because now is the only place where your power lives. Now is the only place where you can rewrite the story of your life. Change is not something you wait for, it's something you create. And the most powerful creation you'll ever make is a new version of yourself. The problem is, most people are waiting for life to give them a reason to change. They wait for a crisis, a loss, a betrayal, a diagnosis before they finally wake up and say, I can't live like this anymore. But what if you didn't have to wait for the pain? What if you could start creating your future from a place of inspiration instead of desperation? The truth is you can, but it requires courage. Not the kind of courage to fight the world, but the courage to face yourself, to sit quietly with the discomfort of who you've been and not run from it, not distract yourself, not numb it, but to look at it fully and ask, is this really me? Is this really how I want to live my life? Because if you're not the one choosing your thoughts, your reactions, your emotions every single day, then someone or something else is choosing them for you. And every time you let the outer world dictate your inner world, you're handing over the remote control of your life. You're saying, go ahead, shape my future without my consent. And then you wonder why life feels repetitive or hollow or out of sync. The truth is, the 95% of your mind that runs on autopilot was programmed when you weren't even aware it was being programmed, and now it's just playing the same tape over and over and over again. And no matter how much you want change, on the surface, deep inside, your body is saying, no thank you. I prefer the old pain, because at least it's familiar. And that's what makes the subconscious so powerful. It doesn't care if something feels good. It cares if something feels familiar. Your body doesn't crave joy. It craves what it's used to. And if what it's used to is anxiety, sadness, guilt, or anger, then that becomes the emotional home you keep returning to even when it hurts. And this is why transformation is so rare, because it's not about information, it's about embodiment. Most people know what they need to do, but they can't get themselves to do it. Not because they're lazy or weak, but because their body has memorized a completely different reality. You're trying to write a new future using tools that are still soaked in the past. But here's where things shift. The moment you decide to show up differently, every single day, you are beginning to rewire the software of your entire existence. It might be slow at first, and it might feel fake, and your mind will scream, this isn't working. But you keep going, not because of what you see, but because of what you believe, and that belief gets stronger the more you practice. When you wake up in the morning, and instead of reaching for your phone, you reach for your breath. When you close your eyes and visualize the person you want to be. Not someday, but now, when you feel gratitude before the thing even arrives, when you teach your body that joy, love, peace are the new norm, then something begins to shift beneath the surface. It's not visible yet, but it's real. You are now becoming your future before it even happens, and the body begins to listen. The subconscious begins to adjust. The quantum field begins to respond because energy doesn't lie. You can't fake your vibration, and when your energy aligns with your intention, you become magnetic, not just to people or events, but to the very future you've been dreaming about. And the wild thing is, it starts to feel normal. You start to expect beauty. You start to anticipate love. You start to assume peace. And that's when you know you've truly changed. Not when the thing shows up, but when you no longer need it to feel whole. Because the moment you feel whole, the things come anyway. They are no longer the source of your joy. They are the reflection of it, the echo of the work you've done internally. This is the secret. Every spiritual teaching, science-backed discovery, and ancient wisdom tradition has pointed to your inner world creates your outer world, not the other way around. And when you finally embody this truth, when it moves from your head to your heart and from your heart to your body, then you don't need to try so hard to change the external world, because you've already changed the source, and the source is you. You become the kind of person who walks into a room and shifts the energy without saying a word, not because of your appearance, or your status, or your accomplishments, but because your state of being is so rooted in truth and power and presence that everything around you naturally calibrates to your frequency. People feel it without knowing why things flow to you, without force, and you're not chasing anymore because you're aligned. You've reprogrammed the 95% of you that once ran on survival, fear, doubt, and pain, and replaced it with a code of love, trust, worthiness, and freedom. And now you move through life, not as a reaction, but as a creator. You don't fear the unknown. You welcome it, because you've learned that the unknown is where the magic is. That's the space where possibility lives, where potential breathes, where future you is, waiting with open arms, and you understand that discomfort is not a sign to stop. It's a sign that you're evolving, that you're stepping out of the old neural pathways and forging new ones, that you're breaking the chemical addiction to your old identity and installing the emotional software of a brand new self. And this work is not for the faint of heart. It requires presence and patience and a deep level of honesty. But it's also the most rewarding journey you'll ever take, because the treasure is not out there, it's within. You've just been taught to look everywhere else, but now you know better, and now you do better, because every time you sit with yourself and feel the emotion you used to avoid, every time you choose the future vision over the past memory, every time you breathe instead of react, or love instead of close off, or believe instead of doubt, you are voting for the future version of you, and eventually those votes add up. They become the new default. They become the new program, and that's when life stops being a loop and starts becoming a launch pad. It's no longer about surviving, it's about expanding, no longer about controlling. It's about surrendering to the greater intelligence that's been guiding you all along, and you realize that reprogramming your subconscious mind wasn't about becoming someone else. It was about returning to who you were before the world taught you to forget your power. It was about removing the layers of fear, trauma, expectation, and pain that buried your truth. And now that you've remembered, now that you've reconnected with that truth, you can finally breathe, you can finally be, and you can finally create a life that's not a copy of your past, but a bold expression of your possibility. This is your moment, not tomorrow, not someday, not when things settle down or get better, now, right here. This is where the shift begins, not out there, but in here. Because once the 95% of you that was unconsciously creating your life is finally aligned with your vision, everything changes. And not because life got easier, but because you got clearer, stronger, and freer. And that is the true definition of freedom, when your inner world is no longer held hostage by your past, but is fueled by your future, when your body no longer controls your mind, but your mind trains the body to trust again, to love again, to feel safe, enjoy again. Then you've done it. You've reprogrammed. The core of your being, and what happens next is no longer luck or chance or coincidence. It's the direct reflection of who you've become, and who you've become is the one you were always meant to be.